Right, today we're talking about a big favourite, which is OB Peacock Cichlids. So OB Peacocks are probably one of the most popular peacock cichlids. You can pretty much guarantee that you're going to find them in a fish store. They might not have certain types of other peacocks, but almost every single one that I go into has got the OBs. So we've got one in this tank. And as you can see here, they've got it reminds me of like a koi pattern. So the OB stands for orange blotch. So it's an orange blotch peacock cichlid, OB for short. And a lot of people love them. But they've got a little bit of a different backstory to your other peacock cichlids. They're a little bit different, which is why I want to talk about them. Right, so what is it that makes these fish different to the other peacock cichlids? What it is they are a genetic mess. So they do not appear in the wild like this. It's not a natural coloration for the fish. So this orange blotch pattern, you won't see peacock cichlids in Lake Malawi with this sort of pattern naturally on them. You will with mbunas, which is how we've come to this fish. So there's been meticulous breeding going on, where we've sort of interfered, we've played God a bit to get this coloration on the fish. They do appear naturally on the mbunas, so with all this breeding that's gone on since we've been keeping them in captivity, we've managed to pass the mbuna genetics onto the peacock cichlid, and that's how we get this result. People love this fish, so they're massively popular and they're readily available at pretty much any fish shop. So my opinion's a little bit unpopular on them. I don't particularly like that fish. It's my least favourite African cichlid. I've got it in here just to add a little bit of variety in it, and I felt like it was missing one. But the reason I don't like him is because they're not natural. It bugs me a little bit that they're a genetic abomination, and they don't appear in the wild. I've also had a couple of bad experiences with the fish as well. That's not saying that it's a bad fish and you shouldn't get it, because they're just experiences I've had. You could have that experience with any fish. But that's something that's put me off them a bit as well. And then the colour, the pattern on them, it just reminds me a little bit of a pond fish or a goldfish or something. And I just feel like they stand out a little bit. Like they don't really look like an African cichlid because of that coloration. I mean, you can get different ones. So you can get your red OBs, you can get your yellow OBs, your platinum OBs, which is what this one is. And they all have like different tints in the colours, and you can get some really good looking ones. But it's just something about that fish that doesn't sit right with me. Right, I'm not really selling this fish to you great, am I? So, I mean, it's completely all down to personal preference. So, what sort of style you like, what sort of fish you like the look of. That's just my opinion of them. Like I said, I have had a bad experience with that fish in the past. So every one that I've had has been particularly more aggressive than my other fish, and they've been a bit of an arsehole. So I have had to sort of remove a few of them from previous setups that I've had in the past. Doesn't mean they're a bad fish. My theory is it might be something to do with mbuna genetics in the fish, making them a little bit more aggressive, but that's a theory, it's not a fact, it's probably wrong. There's a lot of people that keep these fish very successfully with no aggression issues. But yeah, it's all down to personal preference. Like I said, you can get them in, it's one of them fish you really have to go and look for and pick, because you can get them in so many different colours, different sort of strains of them, and you can find some really beautiful ones, especially when you get a dominant one and the face really starts to glow up. So you don't really see a lot of coloration when they colour up in the body, like you do with other Peacock Cichlids, like with the ruby reds, they'll go bright red on the body. With your OBs, they don't do that. The most of the coloration comes in the face, at the front of the fish, and the body tends to stay the same. I mean, you could get some flashes of blues and flashes of reds and things like that, obviously, yeah. But you're not going to get the same body coloration as you do with some of the other ones. It typically tends to be the face that flares up and colours up on these fish. And when they do that, and you do get a dominant one, they can be really impressive looking fish. But I think I've just got a little bit of a problem with them. There's all your water parameters. So obviously exactly the same as any African cichlid setup. The diet, carnivore pellets, a little bit of flake food, krill flakes, your frozen food like your brine shrimp, your frozen krill as well. So they have a really mixed diet, gets them healthy. Temperature, obviously anywhere from sort of 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit for your water as well. They mix really well with haps and other peacocks as well. Make sure you try and get different coloured ones. And then with your tank, you obviously want to scape it like you would for any peacock or hap tank as well. So minimal scape. Keep your decoration to a minimum. They're open water swimmers, so it gives them lots of growing room as well. So all in all, do we think this is a good fish to get? Yes. It's like I said, they are very popular. A lot of people do love them. My opinion on them is an unpopular one. But I've still got one at the end of the day. Although they are sort of genetic messes and they don't appear naturally in the wild, they're still readily available in all the fish shops. They're still selling them anyway, and they are good fish to keep, and they're good little ones to have in your collection as well. I just think it's one of them things that if you don't have one, it's missing from your tank. What I will say, if you're going to get this fish, which I think is really important, is do not order OB peacocks online. So don't blind purchase the fish, because they're a mixed batch, so you never know what you're going to get with them. Go into a shop, look at what they've got. Almost every shop that stocks African cichlids will have OBs in stock. So go in, have a good look at them and get yourself a really good looking one. Because if you blind purchase, there is a lot of ugly ones and low quality ones knocking about. Just because they're so readily available, they're so sort of crossbred with one another, and you can get some really sort of low quality ugly ones. So go into the shop, there is some beautiful ones knocking about, and make sure you pick one and have a good look at them and get one that's going to be a showstopper for your tank. If you're not bothered about how they look, then order them online, whatever. But a lot of people want the best looking fish for a show tank. So my advice would be to go in the shop and have a good pick of them. This one is a platinum OB, what I've got in here. He's got a little bit of like a yellow tint to his fins. He is mainly black blotched, but he's starting to show a lot of blue coming up on his gills, so I reckon he'll colour up quite nicely. What I liked about him is he's got this sort of this lemony colour to him. You can't really see it too great right now because the blues are on a little bit high on the LEDs, but in the shop he really stood out from the other OBs that are in there. So you can get good looking ones. I would definitely advise you to get the fish. My opinion's my opinion. It's just a little thing that bugs me. It's not because of really too much of how the fish looks or how it behaves. It's more the ethics of it and the fact that they don't appear in the wild that bothers me. But what bothers me don't bother everyone. And like I said, they're in the fish shops anyway, so they're there to buy.